long do you reckon you would be able to withstand the rigors of being a WWE superstar? A year? 6 months? 2 weeks? The answer is about 10 minutes, and you know it, because let's be honest, we're just not quite cut out for all that, are we? The following men and women are more cut out for it than most, smashing the average WWE career length prediction to stand as the longest tenured members of the roster. Before we begin, I must make it clear that we are talking only full-time, currently contracted talent that have been employed without any breaks or a notable reduction in their schedule. So don't come at me with that "what about Edge" bollocks, alright? I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 longest tenured current WWE stars. Join us!
But first, who is the Diesel to your Shawn Michaels? Who is the Rhea Ripley to your Dominic Mysterio? Who is the Ralphus to your Chris Jericho? Well, maybe not that last one, but if you want the best protection out there is nought better than NordVPN. Cheers to Nord for sponsoring this video. We at Cultaholic truly believe that Nord is the best service of its kind. But don't take my word for it, because Nord was actually named one of Time Magazine's 2022 best inventions. Gonna argue with Time, are ya? So here is how I use Nord. Obviously, I live in the United Kingdom, but with NordVPN, I can set myself to be anywhere in the world virtually and access content from those regions. So this means if I fancied it, I could set myself to be somewhere in the world virtually and sign up for a certain sports entertainment network for a fraction of the price. Or if I happen to live in the United States, I could sign up for that sports entertainment network even though it doesn't properly exist as it did in the United States before. All of the suplexes, pile drivers, and hurricane ranas you could want for a fraction of the price. Oh, and it works for plenty of other on-demand services too. There is even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if Nord isn't for you, you can get your money back, no bother at all. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/cultaholic, link in the description below, to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
Number 10, Tamina. As the daughter of Jimmy Superfly Snuka and a protege of sorts of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Sirona Snuka was never likely to stick around in developmental for too long. Just a few matches into her pro career, Snuka was signed to a deal and reported to Florida Championship Wrestling for about half an hour before making her main roster debut alongside the Usos on the May 24th, 2010 episode of Raw. Rechristened Tamina, she has wrestled on WWE television every year since. A one-time women's tag team champion, Tamina has never really been positioned as a single star, with her most notable roles being as the bodyguard of AJ Lee, as a member of Team Bad, and her teams with Lana, Nia Jax, and Natalya. Oh, and she married Akira Tozawa. Can't forget that little gem, can we? These days, the former 9-time 24/7 champion is primarily used to put others over and can mostly be seen wrestling on main events. Now in her mid-40s, Tamina is likely in the winter of her in-ring career, but she has had a hell of a run, all things considered. Number 9, Big E. There are currently question marks over Big E's pro wrestling future as he continues to recover from a broken neck suffered over a year ago. If Big E were never to wrestle again, he has had one hell of a Hall of Fame career, counting among his many accomplishments the WWE title, Intercontinental title, NXT title, countless tag titles, and the most impressive hip gyration technique since Rick Rude. It all started for E in December of 2009, when the former football player and powerlifter signed a developmental deal. Stints in FCW and NXT led to the main roster, and Big E Langston, as he was then known, made his in-ring WWE debut at WrestleMania 29. It was an encouraging start for someone who would become one of the bedrocks of the company over the course of the next decade or so. E, alongside New Day partners Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, continues to spread the power of positivity and light up our screens wherever he shows up. Considering Big E was at a loss about what to do following the end of his athletics career and never envisioned sports entertainment providing a living, he has done very, very well for himself and those those hips of his. Number 8, the Usos. The twin sons of Rikishi, Jimmy and Jey Uso, may have made their main roster WWE debuts alongside their cousin Tamina Snuka, but they had actually been in the WWE system for longer. Not since day one-ish, whatever that means, but a fair while. The Usos signed their developmental deals in the summer of 2009, with Jimmy making his FCW debut several months before Jey. They were inexperienced when they put pen to paper, having only wrestled a handful of independent matches as the Samoan Soldiers, but WWE evidently believed that they had a ton of potential when they promoted them after so little time in their farm league. I think it's fair of me to say that they've done alright since then, and it's certainly been interesting watching their evolution over the past 13 years. Roundly considered to be one of the best tag teams on the planet, the Usos have umpteen classic matches and, alongside Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline, are doing their best ever work. Seriously, these lads are still in their 30s and are peaking after close to 15 years as a fixture on WWE TV. Scary. Number 7, RTruth. Speaking of scary, has anyone found out whether RTruth is actually a vampire or not, or what's the deal there? The Ageless Wonder had a previous underwhelming spell in WWE as K-Quick in the early 2000s, but came back a much more well-rounded performer in the summer of 2008. He didn't come back without his share of heat, mind, having made some choice comments directed toward the likes of John Cena and Vince McMahon while working for TNA in the interim. But Truth quickly became one of the WWE chairman's favorites, his versatility and willingness to do whatever is asked of him, making him plenty of supporters in the writer's room. Since rejoining the company, he's been a hated heel pushed to the main event level, wrestled in various tag teams, won the 24/7 title 54 times, no exaggeration by the way, and has been involved in some very memorable moments indeed. The 51-year-old's legacy will likely be how much he made the WWE universe smile and laugh with his off-the-wall antics. I personally will remember Truth for his ability to secretly live for centuries by drinking the blood of the innocent. Number 6, Sheamus. Before WWE's hiring department figured out airports and work visas and things like that, there were very few spots on the roster for grapplers emanating from outside the United States. The current crop can thank the success of guys like Drew McIntyre and Sheamus for properly opening the borders. The Fighting Irishman did the indie thing for about 5 years before several tryouts led to a developmental contract offer in the spring of 2007. Sheamus has been on the books for 16 plus years at this point and is quite clearly one of the hardest working members of the roster. Like most who tend to stick around for the long haul, the Dublin-born brawler is a proper utility player who can effectively work as a heel or babyface, can be put into any title scene and works well in tag teams or as a member of a stable. He has won pretty much everything there is to win in WWE, worked with pretty much all of the major names, and is still out there producing banger after banger after banger after banger, almost 2 decades into an extraordinary career. Nicely done, fella. Number 5, Natalya. A third-generation prospect from the legendary Hart family, Natalya Neidhart was always going to, at the very least, get a look in from WWE. Debuting in 2000, she gained valuable experience internationally before signing with the company in January of 2007. After getting a taste of Deep South, FCW, and OVW, Neidhart made her televised WWE debut on the April 11th, 2008 episode of SmackDown. How incredible is it that 15 years later, she's still going strong? For a long time, a so-called WWE diva could really only hope to have a couple of solid years on the main roster tops before the company got bored and moved on to someone else. The Queen of Hearts has outlasted everyone else by being one of the workhorses of the women's division, happily wrestling on every pay-per-view, episode of television, or house show WWE books her on. In fact, she is legitimately recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the female for having the most WWE pay-per-view appearances, most matches, and most wins. A solid and established veteran, she's had to weather some dodgy creative, Natalya Neidhart anyone, but has played an integral part in the evolution of women's wrestling in WWE and added to the Hart family's legacy. Number 4, Kofi Kingston. It didn't take WWE long to figure out they had something special on their hands with Kofi Kingston, signing him to a developmental deal after he had been on the Northeast Indie scene for just 5 months. Assigned to Deep South Wrestling in the fall of 2006, Kofi also spent time in FCW and OVW, as well as intermittently going out on the road for house shows and dark matches at WWE TV tapings. His big break came as a member of the ECW roster, making his televised debut in January of 2008. Kingston has been an ever-present over the past 15 years, supplying a comforting consistency every time he steps in the ring. The high-flying New Day member's reward for years of service was an improbable WrestleMania World title win and title run that he had earned 10 times over. While Kofi may never reach those lofty heights again, he will always be a welcome presence. Still only in his early 40s and having remained remarkably injury-free considering his style and how many matches he typically wrestles annually, Kingston likely has many more decent years left in him. Number 3, The Miz. Things were tough for Mike "The Miz" Mizanin at the start of his WWE career. His peers resented him for being on reality TV show The Real World, they resented him for getting his foot in the door via Tough Enough, and they resented him for just about everything, really. At one point, kicked out of the locker room and forced to change in closets and arena stairwells, the odds of The Miz sticking it out and becoming a success weren't great. Proving his naysayers wrong, Miz worked tremendously hard to get better and earn the respect of his fans and fellow pros. Within just a few short years of his backstage exile, he was holding the WWE title and main eventing WrestleMania opposite John Cena. Seemingly allergic to taking a day off, Miz is a true company man who puts the brand before himself and does his task, whatever that may be, to the very best of his abilities. He may not be everyone's cup of tea, but the Grand Slam champion has deserved everything he's ever gotten and serves as a great example of how perseverance can pay off. Number 2, Dolph Ziggler. A standout 3-time All-American amateur wrestler, Nick Nemeth signed a WWE developmental contract all the way back in 2004, giving up a place in law school in favor of pursuing a career in sports entertainment. In those early years, Nemeth had a couple of false starts, first as the caddy for the lamentable Kerwin White, and then as a member of the Spirit Squad. After quite literally being shipped back to OVW in a box, Nemeth toiled for a further 2 years before re-emerging on Raw as Dolph Ziggler, the bloke who really liked introducing himself. It wasn't much, but it was the start of a journey that has seen the show-off become a Triple Crown champion and cement himself as one of his generation's most respected wrestlers. Seriously, Dolph can do it all without breaking a sweat and can be plugged into any match, scenario, or storyline at will, making him incredibly valuable to his employer. Ziggler has built quite the resume and can always be counted on to put a shift in, whether he's in the main event or the opening match. Number 1, Randy Orton. A total natural who was frankly annoyingly good from the get-go, questions nonetheless remained over Randy Orton's maturity and character and whether or not he would be an all-time great or self-destruct. The third-generation star was allowed second, third, fourth, and fifth chances during those early tumultuous years where his talent was never in doubt. Signing a WWE developmental deal in 2000, the Viper was a member of a famed class that included such luminaries as Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Batista. They all either left or went part-time, but Orton has been WWE through and through since making his debut on the April 25th, 2002 episode of SmackDown. Racking up almost 2,500 matches since the turn of the millennium, Randy is routinely cited as the best in the business by those within the business, and at this point, there's not much left for the 2-decade veteran to accomplish. He has won pretty much every title. He's won the Royal Rumble, Money in the Bank, main evented WrestleMania, and wrestled and feuded with pretty much every major star there is in pretty much every type of match. Currently convalescing after undergoing major back surgery, the 20-odd years of bumping have clearly taken their toll, but you wouldn't bet against the Legend Killer being better than ever if and when he does come back.